the opportunity to come together as a community on this beautiful night as we begin our day of Shabbat, our special day, our day of rest. As the cantor begins, Hine Matov. And now let us rise as the cantor leads us in the blessings for the candles for this Shabbat. Please be seated now. Let's continue now in the middle of page 5. Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharet.
Shalom Aleichem, Malchei Hasharet, Malchei Elyon. Melech Malchei Amlachim, HaKadosh Baruch Hu.
And now let's continue on page 13. Shir L'Adonai, Shir Chadash.
Shir
let's continue in the middle of page 14. Yismichu Hashemayim v'tagel haaretz.
ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ. ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל ישמחו השמיים, ישמחו השמיים, ותגל הארץ. Bottom of page 20. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו לך קודשו. רוממו אדוני אלוהינו והשתחוו לך קודשו.
Now we turn to page 23, and let's welcome the Sabbath bride who represents the divinity, the beauty that is the Shabbat. Page 23, L'chadodi likrat kala. So let's all take a moment and wish everyone around you a good Shabbos. And now we invite all those in mourning And all those observing a yard site to remain standing for the words of the Mourner's Kaddish, which is found on page 30. Yitzgadal v'yikadash shemei rabbah. B'yama divra kirute v'yomlik makute. B'kayechon v'yomechon v'kaye dekol beit Yisrael. Ba'agala v'zman kari v'yimru amen. Yehi shmei rabbah mevorach leolam omea maya. Yitzbarach v'yishtabach v'yitba'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh. V'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shemei dekudusha b'richu. Le'ela minkol berchata v'shirata tishbechata v'nechemata da'amiram b'yama v'yimru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru amen. And I invite everyone to please rise for the words of the Baruch Hu, page 39.
You may be seated. With the timeless love you have loved your people, the house of Israel. Ahavat Olam, page 40.
Ota בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודך, והיו לך דברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך, ושיננתם לבניך, ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ובלכתך בדרך, ובשוכבך ובקומך, וקשרתם לאות על ידיך, והיו לטוטפות בין עיניך, וכתבתם במזוזות ביתך ובשעריך.
We continue silently in Hebrew or English to the bottom of page 42.
Adonai Elohechem, Amen.
Amen. Micha mocha ba'elim Adonai. Who is like you, God, amongst the mighty? Page 44. Now, help us, Adonai, our God, to sleep peacefully tonight and awaken us tomorrow to life renewed. Page 45, Hashkivedu.
ובאים לחיים ושלום את אבי עולם ופרס עולים שוקת שלומך ברוך אתה אדוני הפורש סוכת שלום עלינו ועל כל עמו ישראל ועל ירושלים.
And now let's continue on page 46, V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat.
בעלמא דברה קירותי וימליך ומלכותי וחייכון ויומכון ובחיי דכל בית ישראל בעגלה בעגלה ובזמן קריב ויאמרו אמן יהי שמי רבא מבורך לעולם ולעולמי עמיה
Yitzbarach.
יתברך וישתבח ויתפאר ויתרומם ויתנשא ויתהדר ויתעלה ויתהלל שמי לקודשו בריחו לילה מכל ברכתה ושירתה תשפכתה ונחמתה דמירן בעלמא ויאמרו אמן.
And now the silent Amidah, page 47 through page 52. now we transition to a prayer of healing. For all those we may know at this time who need a refuah shlema, a complete healing, as the cantor leads us in a Misha Barak prayer found on the inside back cover of our cedar ream. Please be seated now as we continue with the Kaddish Shalem, page 54.
Shabbat Shalom. So when I was a kid, my favorite part of the Seder was when we would go looking for the Afikomen, and hopefully I would find it, and then I would get a prize for finding the Afikomen. That was what kept me up all night. I wanted to wait till that moment to go searching for the Afikomen. And I'm sure that's something that keeps a lot of our kids engaged, and it's pretty cool. So where do we get this Afikomen from? At the beginning of the Seder, we have 3 sheets of matzah. We take the middle matzah, we break it in half. They never break in half. So the larger half, right, we set aside to be eaten later, and the smaller half we hold up and say, Ha lachma anya. This is the bread of affliction, poor people's bread. Poor people only eat a partial loaf, the small part of a loaf of bread. We're going to save the rest for later. So we're saving that part for later, and then at the end of the meal we're supposed to eat it, and somehow it ends up disappearing, and then we need to find it so that we can end the meal. Where did this idea from Afikomen come from? And by the way, if you saw the video, I was actually asked this question. A family a few years ago had the problem that their dog ate the Afikomen. Really, he ate the Afikomen. And so they said, Rabbi, it's too late now, but we didn't get to ask you when it happened, but what are we supposed to do if the dog eats the Afikomen? So I'll tell you, but only at the end. Anyway, so what is this Afikomen thing? Well, so step into my time machine for a moment. We're going to go back in time, 1,800 years, and we're sitting around with a bunch of rabbis who are trying to make this Seder meal, this Passover meal, fascinating, interesting, engaging, stimulating, so everybody at the table will be so excited to do it every year. Actually, it seems to have worked, right? Because we're still doing it 2,000 years later. And they created this structure that we still follow today. And at the end of this structure that they created, which is recorded in their book, which is called the Mishnah, it says these weird, strange words, in Hebrew, of course, Ein maftirin achar hapesach afikomen, which means you do not conclude the Passover Seder meal with afikomen. Are these rabbis nuts? Don't they know we all conclude the meal with afikomen? What were they thinking? Of course we're going to conclude this Seder meal with afikomen. Why did they say do not conclude the Seder meal with afikomen? Now, if you're starting to think that what they were talking about is not the same thing we're talking about, you're on to something. They weren't talking about something, they were talking about something else. So what was this afikomen they were talking about? Even the Talmud doesn't know, so they suggest several possibilities, typical Jewish thing. One possibility, they're talking about sweets, dessert. Don't finish the meal with dessert. I don't think that would fly too well today. But anyway, that was one suggestion. Mushrooms and pigeons. I have no idea what that guy had in mind. It might have been some kind of salty food, as we'll see later. Music. Don't conclude with music. Now, of course, they didn't have iPhones, so they weren't playing their Apple tunes. They were probably playing musical instruments or singing. So don't conclude with music. Another one was, don't get up from the table, go out the door, go down the street to your neighbors, burst into their house, and keep partying. That would probably be pretty rude. I don't know why they would think you would do that, but that's what they suggested. So now you're probably at this point saying to yourself, Rabbi, there's 4 different suggestions there. How come these rabbis don't know Hebrew? I mean, afikomen, it's a word. They should know what it means. The problem is it's not Hebrew. And it's not Aramaic. It's actually a word from Greek. And so us in America, we can figure out what this means because we have words like it in English. So epi, you know a word that begins with epi? Epilogue, right? Epilogos means the after word. It's the word that comes at the end of the book, epilogos. So epi means after. And then komen comes from the Greek word that we get the word comedy from. So comedy is revelry, fun, right? Entertainment. So epilogue means, or afikomen means after dinner entertainment. And apparently what Greek people used to do when they'd go to a big banquet, a big fancy mansion, is they'd get drunk. And you know what people do at happy hour, right? They serve lots of sweets and lots of salty foods. Why do they do that? So that you will buy more drinks, right? They give you the free food, the snack food for free, because they know that's going to encourage you to buy more alcohol and get more drunk. Apparently that goes back to Greek times. That's what they would do. And then sometimes they would leave the house, go down the street to the next mansion, bust into the door there and say, hey, we're partying, let's party some more. So the rabbis in the Mishnah said, we're not doing that. We're not doing that crazy stuff. We're going to celebrate a little bit like the Greeks. We're going to do some banquet things. We're going to have parsley and salt water. What do we call that in modern times? Hors d'oeuvres, right? We'll have hors d'oeuvres. That was a Greek thing. So we'll have hors d'oeuvres at the beginning of the meal. We're going to recline, because that's the way the Greek people ate their meals. You see it on TV, as those ancient movies where they're lying on couches and eating their grapes like this. Why do we recline at the Passover Seder? Because that's the way the Greeks used to eat their banquets. We're going to have wine. Why? Because the Greeks used to have wine at their banquets. And we're going to lift up the glass and make a toast to God, because the Greeks would make a toast to their gods. So we're going to lift up our cup and make a toast to our God. So we're copying some of the things that the Greeks do, but we're not doing that crazy stuff at the end. None of that crazy stuff. So now, what do we take home from all of this? So what does that have to do with the afikomen that we have today? Because afikomen then meant this crazy stuff. Well, it turns out that at the end of the Passover meal, you were supposed to have the Passover lamb. And the lamb was supposed to be eaten with matzah and with bitter herbs. We don't have the lamb. And I don't think we want to end the meal with bitter herbs. So now we end the meal with just matzah. That's how we end the meal. And we're going to call this matzah afikomen to remind us not to do that other crazy stuff. So that's how it got to be called afikomen, because we're doing this instead of the afikomen. So you can have your dessert before, but the last thing you eat, the taste on your mouth, should be the matzah. So what are the 3 take-homes from this story? Number 1, we can adapt the surrounding culture's customs to fit our needs. And lots of Haggadahs today are brilliant, and they take pictures and ideas and poems and other things from modern culture and insert them into the Haggadah in places where it makes sense. And it makes it more meaningful for us today. And that's okay. That's kind of what the rabbis did when they created this service in the first place. But we don't cross a line. Crossing the line is doing crazy stuff or doing something that's not what Passover is about. It's about freedom. It's about recognizing our place in the world and doing things for God. That's what we're supposed to do. So you can do anything that sort of enriches that experience, but don't do the crazy stuff. So that's the first thing we learn. Second thing we learn, we want to keep the children involved through the whole service. So that's where the custom of having the kids look for the matzah so that they could get a ransom for it, that was in order to keep the kids engaged, to give them something fun to do at night. That's literally all it was for. And there's plenty of those things in the Seder service that the rabbis created because we want our kids to enjoy the service. So do things that the kids will enjoy, and also, of course, hide the afikomen. And the third thing we learn, the last taste in our mouth as we go to sleep, the thing we're supposed to remember when our head hits the pillow is the taste of freedom, the dough that it didn't have time to rise. That's the last thing we eat, the last memory we have before we go to sleep. I wish you all a Shabbat Shalom and a happy Passover. Yeah, what about the dog? Okay. So the answer to the dog problem is, of course, as you can see, that particular piece of matzah, there's nothing magic about it. Just have a piece of matzah. Sorry, not an exciting ending, but just have a piece of matzah at the end. That's the important part.
All right, so we can't get out of it even if our dog eats it. It's not like homework.
My dog ate it,
Yeah, your dog ate it. Okay, exactly. All right, well, thank you, Rabbi Morgan. Let us now rise for the Aleinu, page 56.
עלינו לשבח לאדון הכל, לתת גדולה ליוצא בראשית, שלא עשנו כגויי הארצות, ולא שמנו כמשפחות האדמה, שלא שם חלקנו כאר, וגורלנו ככל המולדם, ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד הארץ, ומושבי קרוב בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בכל ומרומים. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונצח
Now we invite all those in mourning to remain standing for the words of the Kaddish. It's found on page 58. And this week we offer condolences to the families of Aaron Rosenberg, Norma Jean Siegel, and Lila Rauch. Page 58. Yitkadal Yikadash Shemei Rabbah.
Amen.
V'yamad divrach yirtei v'yamlik malchutei v'chayichon v'yomechon v'chayei dekol Beit Yisrael v'agalav izman kari v'yimru. Amen. Yehi Shmei Rabbah mevarach le'olam omei amaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach b'yitba'ar v'yitroma v'yitnaseh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal Shmei dekurusha b'richu le'ela min kol berchata v'shirata tishbechata v'nechemata da'amiram b'yama v'yimru. Amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya v'chayim aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Osei shalom b'mromav hu ya'aseh shalom aleinu v'yakol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. And you may be seated. So honored this evening to have 3 anniversaries. First, celebrating their 17th anniversary, Anne Marie and Bruce Levy. So I know that you're very happy in the past year. Your daughter and her family, including your grandchild Charlie, moved back here to Houston, and that she's expecting with your 2nd grandchild. A lot to look forward to today, this year, and of course a lot to celebrate over this past year. 17 years of marriage. God willing, you have many more simchas, growing families, and only happiness and peace as you celebrate 17 years of marriage. Mazel tov. Celebrating their 51st anniversary, Raquel and Roberto Fleischer. Mazel tov. You had a wonderful year this past year. Your daughter and her family came from London this past September, and you spent Rosh Hashanah and your grandson George's birthday together. And also, you just came back from Cabo for one of your niece's weddings. And you had a lot of fun with all of your family together to celebrate such a great simcha. I remember last year having you up on the bima as you celebrated your 50th. This year's gone by so fast. And the two of you look wonderful. Many more years of health and peace. You celebrate 51 years of marriage. Mazel tov. And we're blessed this evening to have a special 50th anniversary. So it's my honor to call up to the bima Joan and Jeffrey Schneider. Mazel tov. So congratulations. 50 years ago, you were married in Johannesburg, South Africa. Half a century ago, and tonight you celebrate your golden anniversary. And you've been very blessed in those 5 decades. You have 2 children, Richard, who's married to Jeannie, and Terry, who's married to John. And you're blessed with 4 grandchildren, Avery, Juliet, Ryan, and Kate. You have a very special experience this past year. We got to tour Lisbon and Morocco to celebrate your golden anniversary. And I asked you, what's the secret to long-term success in marriage? You told me love, respect, and friendship. So true. May God continue to bless you with many more decades together. What an honor it is to have you celebrate this special milestone in your lives. And may your family, your friends, and your community continue to bring you happiness in the years to come. May God always bless you and keep you. May God always show you his favor and be gracious to you. May God only show you kindness and continue to give you shalom, peace, for many years to come. And let us all proudly say, Amen. Mazel tov. Congratulations. And this is for you guys. Mazel tov. So a couple of announcements I wanted to share with you. I'm sure you noticed when you drove in this evening that the annual Kosher Chili Kickoff is back. It's the first time in 3 years, and we're honored again to host it here in our parking lot at Beth Yeshurun. It's this Sunday from 12 to 4. There'll be dozens and dozens of booths. In addition, there, of course, will be a Beth Yeshurun Day School team. So stop by our booth. Make sure to vote for our booth for the best chili there. There'll also be activities for children, a klezmer band, a DJ. You can purchase tickets from the Houston Kosher Chili Cook-Off website. I'll be there. Many of your clergy members will be there. It's always a lot of fun to have all members of the community to enjoy good kosher food and a wonderful kosher event. It's going to be cold Sunday, So it'll be great to eat some hot chili and to celebrate together as a community. We have a couple big events coming up. I want to mention just a few of them, then I'm going to invite Cantor Goldman to mention a big one, of course, coming up this week. But we have our annual Men's Mock Seder, Wednesday night, March 29th. This is open to men of our congregation, United Orthodox, and Congregation for Reform Judaism, and Congregation Brit Shalom. Our four shuls come together, and we'll meet at United Orthodox Synagogue on Wednesday night, March 29th. It's always a lot of fun. It's good food. It's a chance to learn a little bit and to be together with men throughout the community. You can still reserve a spot on our website calendar. We're starting a new event the next night on March 30th called 4525 Live. And this will be an opportunity to get to know innovators in our community, people in our Jewish community who've changed their particular industries. So we're going to invite a member on March 30th, a friend of ours, a restaurant we all enjoy, Kenny and Ziggy's. We'll invite Ziggy Gruber to be our guest that evening, to get to know him a little bit more, how he started this incredible, really deli that's known throughout the Jewish world here in Houston, Texas. So it'll be on Thursday night, March 30th. And finally, my last announcement is that there is still room available for our upcoming Israel trip, our congregation Beth Yeshurun Israel trip. This is a chance, of course, to celebrate Israel's 75th birthday in Israel in June. We have a few spots still available. The Cantor and I will be on that trip. We'd love to have you with us. If you've been to Israel, never been to Israel, it's a great way to go. It's a special year there. There's a lot of news coming out of Israel. And, of course, the best way to support Israel during these times is to go, to learn more about what's happening, to support our Jewish brothers and sisters in Israel, to learn more, to explore our homeland. So I'd love for you to join us. You can go to our website for more information. And finally, I want to call upon the Cantor for a big event that we have coming up this Thursday.
Shabbat Shalom. There are still, I hear, a few tickets left for the concert this Thursday. So if you haven't heard of it, this is my first annual concert here. We will be honoring Rabbi Jack and Toby Siegel. It's going to be a beautiful night. I'm bringing in two of my very dearest friends who are also cantors at major synagogues, Cantor Rachel Brook from Anshe Emet in Chicago, and Cantor Lori Akers, who most notably to this congregation now wrote the Shir Ladonai that has become a staple of our services. Also, notably, our music director is Chris Harden, who wrote the Micha Mocha that you all love. So come and see what we do besides Micha Mocha and Shir Ladonai. Love to see you there. It is my heart and my soul and two of my very good friends' heart and soul, this show. So we are so excited to share it with y'all. Again, Thursday night, few tickets left.
All right. It's going to be a historic night, and love to see all of you there this upcoming Thursday. Thank you, Cantor. We have a few children with us this evening, so let's call up our children that are here. We'd love to have you come up in the bima, whether they're pre-B'nai Mitzvah or post-B'nai Mitzvah. We'd love to have you come up to the bima and help us with the Kiddush. And let us rise now as we bless our children and our young teens. We say to them, to our boys, Yisimcha Elohim Ke'Ephraim Ke'Menashe. May God bless them like Ephraim and Menashe and all the good boys of our tradition. And we say, Amen. And for our daughters, we say, Yisimech Elohim Kasara Rivka Rachel V'Leah. May God bless them like Sarah, Rebecca, Rachel, and Leah. And may God bless all of our children with shalom always. And let us say, Amen. And now the Cantor will lead us in the Kiddush.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzav b'Shabbat kodsho